Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Flat Out, episode number 11, in association once again with Opulence Thoroughbreds. And time to take a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a pull after what was a very intense weekend of fabulous top-class racing. Once again, Joey Laver and Jack Nicol alongside me for this episode. Very much looking forward to it. And this is what we've got coming up this week. We're going to start off by talking about Newmarket, the July meeting, and all the key performances. Nostrum, City of Troy, and Shaquille, arguably the most exciting of those. Our best bets for the weekend. Antepost bets, a little bit of a news section this week for Joey and Jack to talk about. And I'm going to discuss what was a jam-packed Saturday of racing and perhaps how it's going to be changed in the coming years with the introduction of premierisation. So, without further ado, let's crack on with Newmarket, guys, because we're going to have to talk about it because it was full of fabulous, excellent performances, and I think we've seen a couple of horses have really thrown their hat in the ring for races at the glorious Goodwood Festival. Joey, what was your take out of the meeting? What was your highlight?
My highlight would be Shaquille. I think that was some effort to win like that with that mid-race move after braking so badly. And I think it's really interesting that all kind of the judges that are worth listening to think he should go to the Nunthorpe next. And I know he's not in it; he'd require supplementing, but I think it might be worth doing, because he's got so much pace, this horse. I think a drop down to 5 furlongs might be just the ticket for him, really. I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but I might be doing it. Some effort to just run past Group 1 horses like they weren't there, essentially. In the middle part of quite a hotly contested race. And I people tend to like these horses that are all potential, the likes of City of Troy, fantastic performance, but this was a absolutely wonderful Group 1 performance from a wonderful horse for really likeable connections. And I was, seriously taken by it. I think they're probably going to go the simpler route and go to the Sprint Cup at Haydock and maybe the Maurice de Geest in the meantime. But I'd be tempted myself.
Just very quickly on that, Joe, with the Nunthorpe in mind in your brain, would you be worried a little bit about his slow starts over that quick 5?
Not massively if he broke like he did at Newmarket, but if he did the Ascot, then obviously he'd have no chance on a speed favouring track like York. But I think it will suit the way he races because he wants to go faster all the time. So it wouldn't be something that I'd be extremely worried about. I think it just might suit him a hell of a lot better to what he's currently been doing.
Yeah, I mean, he was wildly impressive, wasn't he, Jack? And I know that you're a fan of City of Troy and Nostrum as well from the week just gone by.
Yeah, it was some absolutely standout performances, wasn't it, Tom? Just coming to Shaquille there, I couldn't disagree more with Joey in terms of going to the Nunthorpe. I just don't think he would be able to get away with that at York speed track. You're giving away too much ground to the likes of, I know Joey there says there's probably not a standout, but I'm a huge fan of Bradsell, Highfield Princess back to the Nunthorpe. I just don't think he'd be able to reel them in. And obviously, it's great for Ross O'Ryan there. It's a maiden Group 1 success, and I'm sure the first of many. But having missed the kick, I think he probably panicked a little bit. And the sectionals there in the second and third furlongs were ridiculous, really. And I'm sitting there as a Kinross backer, looking at Azure Blue, Little Big Ben. I'm thinking, God, I've got a great chance here. And fair play to Shaquille. He obviously is a bit of a freak that he stayed on. He didn't stop, powered up the hill to win. But I just don't think he can get away with that going down to 5. And as he's not entered, I wouldn't even be considering it, really. I'd be going Sprint Cup at Haydock. That's a penalty kick, really, unless it came up really quick and something like a Sacred. Obviously, I'm a big fan of her. But for me, that is the absolutely logical target for him. Perhaps they could go at the Breeders' Cup at the end of the year. But well, again, that probably wouldn't suit, to be fair. That's just one off the top of my head really quickly. But yeah, his last 3 furlongs, he was about 2 lengths slower than Biggles, so he was definitely stopping. It was just the likes of a Kinross or a Run to Freedom probably didn't have the boot to reel him in. I don't think he would be able to do that at York, as I say, with Highfield Princess, Bradsell and the like. It would make sense to me.
Yeah, interesting comments there, Jack, I have to say. I want to quickly move on to both Nostrum and City of Troy, obviously in different age brackets. But I wanted to first mention how impressed I was with Nostrum, because he's a horse that I remember seeing last year when he got beaten in the Dewhurst. I thought to myself, well, this is just a classic Sir Michael Stoute project, isn't it? How good is he going to be in the next coming seasons? And I think he's proven that he's got better. And that was a wicked performance, wasn't it, in that listed contest, to see off some pretty decent rivals in behind. But the way that he did it, and the visual impression he made, both with the way that he tanked from the front of the race, and then when asked to quicken, he really put it to bed in impressive fashion. I thought was very taking, and I hope he does run in the Sussex Stakes. Joe, do you think that might be where they decide to go next?
Yes, probably. I think with the way that they built quite quickly, didn't they, to run in the first last year, they're likely to do the same thing again this time around, even though a bit but no, I think so. Yeah, very impressive horse. I'd always noticed him. He's got very big feet. Watch out for it next time. Very big feet. Got a plate feet as not. Just a quirky little fact.
Yeah, I'll have a look out for his big feet. It could be a pretty good Sussex, I would say, with Nashwa and Paddington as well. Hopefully they all go for the race. It could be a bit of a cracker.
Surely Nashwa would go to the Nassau, wouldn't she?
Yeah, I don't know. I was so impressed with her mile. I hope they stick to the mile, but I mean, you're probably right. She'd probably go with the easier option, won't she? But
just go 51 last year probably, and drop her back like that for the QE2 on Champions Day. That'll be another mile contest for her. That's sort of like halfway house thing. So I think downhill 10 and sort of an uphill mile be ideal, really.
Yeah, I think if she were mine, considering she clocked that ridiculous sectional of 10.3 seconds towards the kind of latter end of the race on Saturday, I'd be keener on sticking to a mile, I think, if I owned the horse. But luckily for De Gostens, I don't. I just want to, very quickly mention City of Troy as well. Jack, a horse with a huge amount of potential.
I mean, it was a wicked performance, wasn't it? The way that you could go and win by that distance. People kind of questioning the price, but on the back of that, he absolutely deserves, really, for the guineas. I mean, look at Auguste Rodin last year. Would you want to actually back him? No, probably not. So I don't think people should really get so offended by it. He probably, at this stage, he does deserve that pricing, but there's a long way to go yet. He could even go for an American campaign, obviously, judging by his breeding. Maybe we'll touch on that a bit later with Joey, but what a serious performance. And you love to see stuff like that, don't you? When a horse can just go and demolish a field, it was a real sight to watch. And just quickly on Nostrum, it was a savage performance. The horse we spoke about back in our Guineas preview. I've been a huge fan of him since last year, and it was great to see him back. He was 5-2 in the morning. Then I was at work, and then all of a sudden he was into what was he 6-4? And yeah, he won like a proper horse. I would just wonder, could they bide their time and maybe go the Baid route, go the Thoroughbred Stakes, and then go for something like the Moulin and possibly on to the QET at the end of the year? I don't think they need to rush him really against a horse like Paddington. Obviously, these Kingmans are quite fragile. It could just stunt his progression, maybe go a bit easier, go in the Group 3, and then go, as I say, to something like the Moulin. That's kind of where I would be leaning towards, but it would not be a surprise probably if they do go for the Sussex.
It's quite a nice conundrum to have, isn't it, for Sir Michael Stoute and Belmont, it has to be said. Let's move on then to best bets of the coming week. It's a quieter weekend on the racing front generally. And, we come into this off the back of a very good tipping week for both Joey and Jack, because Biggles went in on Saturday in the Bunbury Cup. And that's 2 best bets on the bounce for Mr. Joey Labour. So a big round of applause to you, sir. You're doing very well at the moment.
Yeah. It was a special 10 days, Tom. It really was 10 days. I mean, started off by seeing one of my great heroes in Bruce Springsteen, Perotto going in, and then obviously the next week, Biggles as well.
As the great man said, these glory days, they pass in the wink of a young girl's eye. So we have to enjoy them while they're here. This coming week, I'm going to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, continuing the tour of my American musical hero. So hopefully that augurs well for the run to continue. If my tip this weekend wins, I might come in next week draped in the Star-Spangled Banner for the podcast.
Go on then, mate. Let's try and make it 3 in a row with your best bets then, shall we? What you go for this week?
Well, I don't know. I think I'll let Jack go first this week. I think I'll let him take the lead. I want to see where he goes.
Okay.
Well, it's not a great weekend, as we kind of alluded to last weekend. I'm off to Liverpool today for the golf, so that's kind of been at the forefront of my thought.
You got a
there
tip
is
for the
one
golf then?
Well, my tip for the golf, my
Don't get
headline
him
tip for the
started,
golf
Joey. Don't get him started.
is Brooks Koepka. In Brooksy we trust. But coming back to the main point of the show is the race, and the best bet this week is in the opener at Newbury on Saturday, and that's a horse called Phantom Flight. Obviously, we know it's been such a stop-start season so far for James Horton. This horse has actually been able to run 3 times. He was unlucky at Kempton. The race didn't really pan out. There was some good form there. Rogue Millennium in second. Savvy Victory won just the other day there. He was in fifth. And in Phantom Flight, he in the way the race panned out, I thought he was kind of the one to take out of it. He since went to Goodwood. He didn't get a clear run there. Against some progressive rivals again. And then just last week there at Newmarket, he didn't stay the trip. He was kind of plugging on again, and that's kind of how it's been working out for him this season. But I think it is the stable's best horse, and I think his optimum conditions are 10 furlongs. Quicker ground is what he'd probably prefer as well. It's on probably the softer side of good at Newmarket at the moment. It should dry out looking at the forecast, and it could well be good or better come Saturday. And I just think at 10-1, he's a wild price, really. When you look, Alorsi was absolutely tailed off in the same race at Newmarket. He's in at evens here, which doesn't make sense to me. Coming back to 10 now for Phantom Flight, for me, he should be near enough favourite, really. Looking at last year when he was so impressive at York, clearly that, as I say, a galloping track like Newbury is going to bring out the best in him, and I can really see him going well here. And I don't think it's a deep race. The German horse is interesting. Obviously, he wouldn't come over for the fresh air, but for me, yeah, Phantom Flight is a fairly strong on a pretty lean weekend each way bet here, and yeah, he would be my best bet.
Yeah, strong case made there, Jack, I have to say. And yeah, you've been in very good form as well, but in even better form. I'm looking forward to this, Joey. We've had to wait on tenterhooks for this one, so come on.
Well, I hope I don't disappoint then. I mean, I'm going for my best bet in the Hackwood at 3 o'clock Newbury this weekend. I don't think that this is the strongest Group 3. I don't think it's the strongest bunch of older horses. And I'm going to give Clive Cox's Get Ahead a chance in this. She's a filly I really like, and she caught my eye this year behind another filly called A Happy Romance, who I have loved for years as well. And she won this race as a 3-year-old, it must be admitted. Get Ahead is actually now a 4-year-old, but she's been running very well this year over 5 furlongs. She's a half-sister to Caldine, and she's a showcasing, and I just think that she might just be, as she's getting stronger now, better suited to 6 furlongs. She ran really well at Haydock last time out, a superb run, the time before, on a flat 6, and I think Newbury's flat 6 is going to really, really suit her. Yeah, she's a filly I like. I've got a lot of respect for Clive Cox. I think he's very good with sprinters. He knows the time of day with these. And I just think she's got a chance of really improving this year as she goes, and hopefully improving over the 6. She's only rated a pound lower than Happy Romance was. And yeah, I'm just very optimistic she can take a higher order. Anything above 10-1, double digits each way, I think she's probably my best bet of the week.
Nice one. I think the flat out faithful are going to be calling me crazy because I'm going to take you on, Joey, in that exact race with my best bet as well. So fingers crossed I'm not being insane by doing that, considering your recent form. But I'm going to go with an each way best bet, and that would be Mitt Bahi for David Egan and Roger Varian. Now, this is a horse who is also entered up on Saturday at the Curragh for the Sapphire Stakes over 5 furlongs. The Hackwood, of course, over 6 furlongs. I'd be amazed if they kept to the 5 furlong trip with this horse, because he's not run over 6 since his first couple of outings in novice company. It did seem back in his early days that the drop to 5 furlongs is what he wanted, but I think he's matured. He's become less keen. He travels into his races with a little bit more containment within himself. And therefore, I think he's starting to show that he now wants to go back up to 6. We've not seen him over that since the summer of 2021. I think now is the time. Both his starts so far this season at Haydock behind Dramatised in the Temple Stakes, and then again last time out behind Bradsell at Ascot in the King's Stand, both would indicate that he wants to go further. He kind of gets a little bit outpaced before running on towards the end of the contest. Such as his ability and speed, I think that the step up to 6 furlongs would see that very enthusiastic pace come back into the reckoning for him, which is exactly what he wants. And he can't really show that at the moment over the minimum trip. So hopefully they'll go the Hackwood Stakes route. And of course, he's got that form at Newbury over the same track last year over 5 furlongs. That was when he beat Teresa Mendoza in the Group 3 Dubai International Trophy Stakes. And he likes the track. He just needs that nice, strong pace to kind of sit behind before he can pounce late. So I think he's a big price if going over that 6 furlong route. I can't imagine that Roger Varian, having watched both the outings he's contested so far this season, is going to think to himself, are we going to stick to 5 furlongs? I mean, I know the Curragh is a stiff 5, but I still think the 6 at Newbury is exactly what he wants. So hopefully they'll go for the Hackwood Stakes route, and he can bounce back to his best over a new trip, because I think that's exactly what he wants. And I know that Jack's quite keen, but we'll talk about him or his fancy with Mitbahi a little bit later on.
Can I just interject real quickly? So I've been getting pelters for a little, last week essentially, for kind of writing off the case of Cold Case, who you've put up, I think, a couple times now, Tom. So he's finally ready to run. 6 furlongs, could well be a bit of juice in the ground. Why are you not tipping him up this time?
It's a good question, to be honest. I feel like he's going to run a big race. I just don't think at the prices I'd be as keen on him as I am Mitbahi, who's a much bigger price to be. I mean, I think Cold Case could easily be the one to beat in that bar Mitbahi. But for me, Mitbahi at the prices, to be honest, mate, is a more tempting proposition.
Absolutely fair.
Great. Do you know what? I nearly felt caught out then. You nearly did me. I think I got away with it just.
Sorry.
It's all about price. It's all about price this game. It's all about price. Stand your ground.
I've got the sweat coming through my fingers. Oh, I feel all over the place now, Jack. You've done me in. Right, moving on to...
Nickel flat out Johnny Deneen. So don't worry, it doesn't matter about this. He just wants winners. He's the Geordie Johnny.
To be fair, on Cold Case, he's still a good price. He is still a good price. But just not quite as good as Mitbahi's price. Cool, guys. Let's move on to Antepost then, because it's a little bit of a new section this week. Not one we'll probably do every week, but a nice addition. And Joey, I know you've got some talking points about the Moet et Chandon International Stakes at Ascot next weekend.
Just the beauty of that pronunciation. Can you give it to me again?
Moet et Chandon.
Did you pronounce the T again? These T's are the things, huh? I never know what to
I think it is a hard T in Moet.
It is Moet, yeah. It's a hard T, I think.
Moet? Yeah, very good.
Moet,
very good, Tom.
Yeah.
Very good.
I've got to say, actually, just on that, Joey, if you ever get the chance, don't know if you've ever been before, but the Avenue de Champagne in France, where all the champagne houses are, it's the most amazing experience. Like they're all there. You've got Moet, you've got Dom Perignon. I mean, they're all down the same street, and they've all got these huge, great kind of facades, and you can go in, take tours around each one. It's actually awesome.
I think
yeah.
I know exactly. We're kind of like the 3 stratas of society, aren't we? There, like you're the life at the bottom. I'm in the kind of middle. No one quite knows. And Tom up there living the high life, absolute high life there. Talking about champagne streets in Paris. I also should let the viewers know that the reason we're doing this today and not yesterday is because Mr. Ball was going to the proms with his mother.
That's not a great 30 seconds for me, is it, on the pod?
Nothing wrong with it, mate. I love the way that you got these things and things that are slightly, not typical of average kind of mid-20s. Fair play to you.
I'd recommend the proms as well for what it's worth, actually, to be honest. It was great.
Yeah. Protests weren't there. We'll stop in it. They're just a Hoyle getting involved in that now.
I know, yeah.
Go to proms. Can't even go to proms without them ruining it now. I've completely forgotten where we are. What are we doing now? We're doing the Moet and Chandon, aren't we?
Indeed.
Yeah, it was as much to reflect essentially on. We've got these 2 obviously big races coming up. 2 races I really like in the 7 furlong races. You go from the Bunbury Cup, you go to the Moet and Chandon on King George Day, and then obviously the Golden Miles, very similar sort of assignment for for these type of horses, 7 to 1 furlongs to a mile, are horses that I really like to follow. It's just a division I really like.
And so on that note, I just think that Biggles has a really good chance of maybe doubling up. The last horse to double up essentially was Burnt Sugar, I think, who did it in 2018. We had Bless Him last year, who also went very, very close to doubling up, was only beat by Fresh, I believe, who's a course specialist there. And I reckon, therefore, that Biggles has quite a good chance of basically doubling up under a penalty. But if I'm going to pick one of those two horses I mentioned, I'm going to give Bless Him a go with 0.5 point each way Antepost. Now, he's not the archetypical Antepost shortener. I think he'll go off a decent price on the day with extra places, but at this stage, just in case, I'm going to have 0.5 point each way on him at 20 to 1, because I think that's quite wild, given how well he ran in the Bunbury Cup. He got a little less cover than ideal. He usually likes to be delivered very, very late, and he was quite prominent, and I just think it probably the way the race was run, he wasn't seen to best effect. I think he's in fantastic form. As I say, he went very close to winning this race that I'm talking about at Ascot in a week or so's time. After winning the Bunbury Cup last year, he could have won this. I think he looked maybe the likely winner a furlong out. So I'm going to give him a chance, a 0.5 point each way at this stage, and then I'm probably going to be doubling up next week on it. I think Bless Him has a very good chance.
Well, you would be forgiven for thinking that the art of Antepost betting had died, but I think Jerry Labour has just resurrected it in great style there. Jack, I know that you...
Well, we have to.
Indeed. Jack, I know that you're a fan of something a little bit further down the line.
Yeah, so I've been looking at the Ebor this week, Tom, and I had hoped that Law Yeakill would possibly win it out. Well, he would need to have won at Ascot there on Saturday. It was a little disappointing that he couldn't get the better of One for the Gutter, so it's unlikely now, with around a month to the race, that he's going to run. And another horse from Royal Ascot that's kind of been on my radar for a long time, he actually returned after 664 days off. I wasn't sure he was still alive, to be honest, but that's a horse called Nagano. He ran a really decent race. He was 11th of 18, but he got no run at all. The interesting thing I thought was the fact that he went off 13 to 2. Obviously, that he still retains all his ability on his homework. The variants, at home, they would be seeing that, and I just wonder. He won at Goodwood as a 3-year-old. That would probably be the logical next step. That 1 mile 6 race, which is always a great trial for the Ebor. Trollhammer won it last year, of course, going on to Ebor success. I suspect that's where he'll go next. I do have a friend that works there, and I just sent him a quick text yesterday. He said that probably will be the target, the Ebor, with a run in between. He's off for 100 at the moment, so he's already pretty much guaranteed a run. I just think this horse, there is the potential for him to bounce, but he's such a talented horse. The way he did win as a 3-year-old at Goodwood there in 2021, I think he's a serious horse. And he looked every inch a group horse. And certainly on that Ascot run, I think he retains his talent on that. He's a general 20 to 1 shot. And I've had a small bet. Obviously, you're backing the horse is going to have to run twice to actually win the Ebor. So there's every chance that he could go and disappoint at Goodwood, maybe bounce or something. But so yeah, I've had a small bet, but I think he could be a potential springer in the market. I'm not sure at the head at the minute. You've got the likes of Absurd and Garcia, and yeah, I'm not sure. I think he could well be the next spring in the market. And Nagano, yeah, a little bet on him each way.
Okay, interesting stuff there from both of you guys. Yeah, Antepost well and truly alive still. Okay, moving on now to my curious case, which this week is a slightly controversial topic, actually, and it is to do with the jam-packed Saturday that we've just had and how it's going to be changed going forward over the course of the next couple of years. Because, of course, the BHA have brought in the premierisation innovation, which is intended to make busy Saturdays like the one we've just had either not quite so busy, but also full of quality, and to get rid of those meetings or not get rid of, or at least adjust their position in the calendar so that smaller meetings at smaller racecourses, so they're not cluttering up big Saturdays, essentially. Now, of course, this has had some controversial impact on some of those smaller courses. You don't want to lose their big race days on Saturdays, and financial compensation has been mooted. That they'll be compensated in a manner, and if they're not allowed to run their races, there'll be a monetary comeback for them. But at the same time, it's not ideal for anyone. What I would say, though, in the advantageous side of this is that you look at a Saturday like we just had, where you had York, Ascot, and Newmarket, of course, and it is almost impossible to take breath, to take stock of what is going on. And it is a shame that we have, so many good races going on at the same time. And you contrast that with what's happening the next day on Sunday, and you have 2 jumps meetings at Perth and Stratford, and that's it. And it just seems a completely missed opportunity. And the following week, not to crab any of the races that are going on this weekend, but it is very much lower in terms of quality. We've got Newbury Super Sprint meeting, we've got the Irish Oaks, and apart from that, we're struggling really. Whereas you could think to yourself, well, we'll be able to put one of the 2-day meetings you had last week, the next week, and maybe shuffle some stuff around. So premierisation is it's a very kind of dramatic thing to be doing. I think it's got some pluses and some minuses, and I've probably not explained it all in great depth there, but it is a very complicated topic and quite difficult to voice on a podcast. But I think that the long and the short of it is that it's a plus in terms of getting everyone more focused on the big meetings. But at the same time, I do think there is definitely room for adjusting calendar, because I'm sure next year, even with that premierisation brought in, we're going to have Perth and Stratford on a Sunday without any decent flat meeting, when that shouldn't be the case. Right, our final section today is going to be on the Irish Oaks this weekend, the Super Sprints, and also our best bets, apart from the best bet we've already produced and put forward so far. The Irish Oaks this year, perhaps a slightly underwhelming field. We don't exactly know at this point what's going to definitely run. Aidan O'Brien has got the 2 at the top of the market at entry stage, Save the Last Dance, Warm Heart. As is out there for Dermot Weld, Blue Stocking for Rafe Beckett, then any price for the rest of them, really. Jack, with all those kind of points in mind, the Irish Oaks, the Super Sprints, and best bets, do you want to just give your thoughts on all 3?
Well, yeah, as you touch on there with the Irish Oaks, it's so hard at the moment which one of Aidan's 2 is going to run. Blue Stocking's an interesting one. She was unlucky at Ascot, and I think that's probably one that's not really going to form, or you're not going to be able to form a strong opinion maybe until Dex. And yeah, I wouldn't be able to add much. I'm a huge fan of Save the Last Dance. Ultimately, I think her long-term goal could be the Arc. I think, obviously, the performance at Chester, she lends itself that she's going to be really dependent on that deep ground. So in my mind, that she'll be, well, I just think she's a serious animal, given her conditions. And I'm not sure she'll get that at the Curragh, so it could be Warm Heart. So as I say, you're kind of going around in circles at the moment. The Super Sprint as well. I was so annoyed yesterday at work. I saw Release Rally priced up at 3-1, and I can't actually get on with Ladbrokes and Curragh, but there's a Curragh shop on the walk home from work, and by the time I did get away at about 7:30, the price was in the 2-1, and it's quite defensively priced up there. It's quite short for me, and we've seen the likes of Maria Bramwell, Vintage Clarets in the last 2 years, 100+ rated horses, clear of the rest, have been beaten in this race. So for all I think Relief Rally, well, you lads know the regard I hold this filly in, and I think she's a Group 1 animal. I can let her go and win. She's as short as 13-8. I do think she's probably going to win, but look, she could get like a stall 1 or something in a 20-runner race. So again, I'm happy to leave her. Just as another bet, I do actually quite like one on Saturday in the last at Newbury for William Haggis. I can't go a week without tipping one, but this is a filly that she was
can't go 48 hours, mate.
Well, that's it, isn't it? She was thought of as a possible Guineas contender in the spring. That didn't quite work out. She won impressively on debut, and in terms of the MO, when a horse from some of the Phil Lodge can win on debut, generally that tends to tell you that they are going to be above average. as it is, she's ran twice in novice stakes, conceding weight to two useful horses in Alcakib and in New Business, who are rated 87 and 86 respectively. She gave weight to them. She now runs in a handicap here of 85. It suggests to me that she's got a little bit in hand off that. But most importantly, she's stepping up to a mile, which I think she's only going to get possibly even over 10 in time by far. The only kind of worry for me at the moment, I did mention earlier, Newbury's probably already on the softer side, but with the forecast drying out, I do think this filly wants a bit of ease in the ground. So, of course, we're not going to get a market until Thursday onwards anyway. But yeah, I would just watch out. She is jocked up, so it looks like she is a likely runner. But wait until Dex, then you get your money back if she's a non-runner. But yeah, bit of cut in the ground, a mile off a mark of 85. I think she's a strong bet here. There is some useful fillies that I do like as well. Marksman Queen for Gosnell. I think she's useful. You can put a line through her run at Ascot. But yeah, Orchid Bloom, she's been one I've kind of been waiting for now in handicaps. And mark of 85 is pretty lenient.
Nice one, Jack. Lovely stuff. I'm not going to comment too much on the Irish Oaks or the Super Sprint. I think Jack has made a pretty comprehensive analysis there of those two races. But I will put up one at Newbury on Saturday myself. And that comes in the Steventon Stakes listed contest, the opening race on the card. Now, another one here who is doubly entered, but I'm hoping this is going to be his route. It's possibly a slightly tougher ask than his other entry, which is the Glasgow Stakes, listed race on Friday at Hamilton. And the horse in question is Oviedo for Ed Bethel. And a horse who is improving now. They seem to have found a key to him. He won the Zetland Gold Cup on his seasonal return, on turf, that is. He'd come back at Newcastle a little bit before that. Had a nice pipe opener there in listed company. Stepped up to a mile and a quarter and won the Zetland Gold Cup in really good fashion, I thought. And then wasn't outclassed, I didn't think, last time up behind Waipira in the Hampton Court Stakes. That was a Group 3 over a mile and a quarter because he was bang there with a kind of furlong to go. He led 2 furlongs out, looked like he was going to be there or thereabouts at the finish, and just got a little bit tired in the closing stages, I thought. So I think a strongly run mile is going to be exactly what you want. And with that juice in the ground at the moment we've got, it'll make it a slightly more of a stamina test. So I think that Steventon Stakes is going to be a perfect scenario, really, for Oviedo. And I'm absolutely certain we get to see the best of this 3-year-old. And let's not forget, Ed Bethel's string this season is operating at an extraordinary strike rate, really. 28% overall for all his runners. But you look at his 3-year-olds on turf, which, of course, Oviedo is one of those. 35%, 16 winners from 46 runners, which is really quite astonishing. So I think Oviedo, if going for that Steventon Stakes, is going to be a big player. I think if he goes to Hamilton, he'll be a short price, so won't be particularly worth taking at the prices. It obviously remains to be seen what runs there. But I hope they go for the slightly tougher route and the slightly bigger prize money. So fingers crossed that Oviedo can run a big race at Newbury on Saturday. And Joey, that leaves us with you for Saturdays and the weekends racing. What do you have to say?
In terms of these races, the weekend, the Irish Oaks and the Super Sprint, I mean, not an opinion. Just no chance. I mean, we just can't do it there, especially with the Irish Oaks. No idea what shape of the race is going to be, and so I can't have opinion on that. And Super Sprint, I mean, Jesus Christ, that's an absolute horror show. I'll have a look close to the race when we know the shape of the field. But I rather like my punting to be the complete opposite of my cricket. Like when I was a batsman, I love to feel bat on ball, a bit like Ben Duckett, just constantly bat on ball. But these two are a massive leave through to the keeper, Alastair Cook style. I think they're a nightmare to get involved with at this stage. So of the other race, I think the one I do like a Tiger. I just think he's just obviously entirely dependent on getting some cut in the ground. And I actually think James Ferguson made a bit of a mistake pulling him out at the last minute at Newmarket the weekend, because I would have thought he had a great chance. The ground was just starting to turn soft for him as well with the rain coming in. But I won't be playing because I think there's a chance that obviously he won't run. The other one, I really like Solent Gateway in the 225 at the weekend. Go and have a look at Sweet William. He's an interesting one last time. Literally, when he went clear, he's had 4 runs. He's got the blinkers on first time last time. And Rab sauntered there on him. And watch him just full line. He literally tries to do a plant. Literally and Rab has to suddenly go, oh, Jesus Christ, no, don't stop on me. Literally nearly stops on the line. He's not one I like temperament temperament of at all, so I'd love to take him on. And Solent Gateway, I love this horse. I just think he always, so often on the tracks, 2 miles, exactly what he wants. He won at Haydock, start for last against Law of the Sea, who I still think is very dangerous in races of this sort around the mark years. Beat him off in a slowly run gallop from the front, controlling. That's the sort of thing that he will do. The weekend, get out in front. I think if you stop those 2 furlongs out, Ascot and the Ascot Stake last time, it looks like as much the winner as any of the others. I think he's still very workable. He just needs to come back to these 2 miles on flat tracks where hopefully go out in front. Not jocked up yet. I won't be tipping him here. I will be tipping him hopefully when he's jocked up on Thursday on my Twitter page, but it won't go down on here. But he would be my best bet of these at the moment.
Lovely stuff, gents. Thanks very much indeed. Plenty covered in the latest Flat Outs episode. Looking forward to my non-runner on Saturday afternoon at Newbury. And
something to look forward to, isn't it, Tom? Something to look forward to.
Always a pleasure, lads. Always a pleasure. Please do remember to gamble responsibly. Gambling at the end of the day should be fun. And when the fun stops, please do stop. Thanks very much indeed to Opulence for their continued support and sponsorship of this podcast. And don't forget to go on their website. They've got plenty of opportunities open for racehorse ownership. And hopefully you will enjoy the weekend's racing. We'll see you again soon here on Flat Out.